Hello, everybody. Welcome to the NFL Week 11 edition of Fantasy Football Live. Andy McNamara alongside Shoaib. We'll take you through, folks, right up almost till kickoff. So we're going to give you your injury updates, any COVID cases, starts and sits for the games, and of course, answer all your fantasy football questions. We'll get into our best bets and some prop plays as well as we take you up until noon. So you can get us on Twitter at AndyMC81, at SNSLE, and of course, comment on whatever platform you're watching us on. Is it Sportsnet, YouTube, or Facebook Live, or Twitch? Hit us up there. Show, how's it going, man? It's a lot of bad weather across the U.S. and here in the GTA as well, but we're all comfy inside getting ready for some football.
Absolutely, yeah, Andy. I'm excited for another week. I hope everyone who is getting ready, gearing up for the playoffs, has also started to think about not necessarily stashing only players, but considering bye week fill-ins. I mean, the Bucs still have a bye. Rostering, if you're in a good position, I don't always recommend this, but if you're in a good position for the playoffs, maybe rostering two defenses to play off one another. You know what I mean? Like it's that time of year where you start to at least think about that kind of thing if you haven't already. So I encourage people over the course of the next couple of weeks to start advancing in that direction.
Well, you do that. You also want to make sure, not just for your own team show, but for opponents, right? Mm-hmm. Who are the handcuffs that might still be available that you can pick up to hose over your friends? That's what fantasy football is all about, right? To make your friends miserable and beat them. And then
if you're a Dalvin Cook owner, for example, or if you're not, or maybe better, like you're saying, if you're not a Dalvin Cook owner and you go up and pick Alexander Madison just to screw over your friends, I mean, hey, that's a good move.
It's perfect. And you know what? What about like a Devontae Booker, who for some reason the last 3 weeks has 3 touchdowns? Josh Jacobs has been banged up a little bit. Like that's it. And again, you're not going to drop somebody usable, but if you have a spot, if there's that wide receiver or running back on your team that you haven't used all year and it's on your bench, time to mix up. Like for me, it was Joshua Kelly for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's going to happen. And all these injuries, it's going to happen. Never happens. He's done.
Yeah, I'm glad I finally cut ties with Josh Kelly. I think it was a couple of weeks ago in favor of Jacoby Myers. So I'm glad that worked out.
That's pretty good. And now it's Kalen Bellage.
Yes, he's the new one.
Kalen Bellage. And I said on the fantasy show that people need to get their keys to the Bellagio today show. Okay, and you check in, go downtown, get that suite, get that president suite right up to the honeymoon suite at the Bellagio today versus the Jets. Because anything that leaves Adam Gase's collective stink and poison with the New York Jets flourishes. It's a beautiful flower. It blooms.
Yeah.
Right?
So someone had texted in, I was just trying to find it here. Someone had texted in a great pun about Bellage. And I cannot find. I think it was some like Miley Cyrus like wrecking Bellage, something like that, joke like that. So get your Bellage jokes in while it lasts. Austin Eckler should probably be returning in a couple weeks, but still get them in while you can.
Yeah, Justin Jackson on the IR. Tromaine Pope is probably leapfrogging Kelly. As of now, I'm just looking, folks, give you an update. No COVID cases today. Hooray!
There you
go. We are COVID free, but now this is coming out from Adam Schefter 3 minutes ago. Quote, I'll read it right here from Shefty. Texans were alarmed by the flu bug that hit the team this week and initially were concerned it could be COVID, but it isn't. However, Laramie Tunsil got the flu and is likely inactive today versus the Patriots. So Laramie Tunsil is the starting left tackle for the Texans. So what that could mean, of course, less protection for Deshaun Watson, less push on that limited running game with Duke Johnson.
As wearing my Patriots shirt, as a Patriots supporter, I'm not going to complain about that, really.
Yeah, that's good.
Going to be a huge homer, but I agree. That's going to definitely just hurt everyone on that offense. I mean, probably not Deshaun Watson too much, if only because he's out there scrambling around anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really interesting. I wonder if that the line has kind of moved. I think too. Last I checked, I think New England was -2. For New England. I wonder if that moves a little more between now and kickoff.
Yeah, could be, right? Depending on what that news breaking there. Other notable inactives, Detroit Lions just decimated. Kenny Golladay out. DeAndre Swift out. Danny Amendola out. Matt Stafford looks like he should play show.
Right.
But, like ligament damage in your thumb on your throwing hand. That's a little dicey. And it's still probably better, even if Matt Stafford is throwing left-handed, than Chase Daniel in there. But it brings up a case where you're playing the Panthers with Teddy Bridgewater, who has a knee sprain, Is he going to make it through the whole game? PJ Walker, our guy, we're big XFL fans. PJ Walker, passing yards and TD passing leader for the XFL, PJ Walker could get some time today. I'm kind of excited. I don't wish any ill will on Teddy Bridgewater. I kind of want to see PJ.
Yeah, it would be something if PJ Walker actually started or at least saw some playing time today at some point against the Lions, who have been not great as usual. But yeah, it's true. I mean, Matthew Stafford is so tough, right? I mean, if there was any quarterback I would believe could have a chance to go out there, play, and actually do reasonably well, is Matthew Stafford. Because, I mean, remember that game? I think it was his rookie season. I forget who they were playing with the Lions. He suffered a separated shoulder, and he came back in and threw a touchdown pass at the very end of the game. Was it against the Browns, actually?
It was against the Browns.
Yeah, it was actually.
It was against the Browns. Yep. I remember it vividly. How the man's arm is falling off, yet they still win. Yes, I do remember that. That was tough. I got two. Like I said, I got my Zabo apparel other Cleveland Brown shirt on.
There you go.
Hoodie.
Okay. Right.
Super comfy. SZABOapparel.com and on social media. So thanks to our buddies there. Other notables who are out, of course, Drew Brees and Shoaib. I'm sure we're going to get, and we got a lot of questions coming here, so we'll get to that. But Taysom Hill, starting quarterback Taysom Hill, not Jameis Winston, who you presumably brought in to, play quarterback. No, you have Taysom Hill, who has a combined 18 pass attempts since 2017. Quote, earlier show, head coach Sean Payton for the Saints said, we want to see what we got. That's fine. Okay, that's fine if you're maybe 2-8, whatever, and the season's lost. You're fighting for your life with a half-game lead on the division, and you want to see what you have in Taysom Hill? What am I missing here?
I mean, at least with... just to play devil's advocate, because I think in truth I do agree with you, but at the very least, I guess you already know what you have in Jameis Winston, right? Like, you already saw Winston for years with the Buccaneers. He throws a lot of interceptions. Like, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, more volatile with Jameis. I'm not like putting him down. It's just based on what we've seen out of Jameis's career, he can be really good and he can also lose you the game, right? So I wonder. So part of me wonders also if that's part into play as well, and then also I wonder if there's some, I don't know if gamesmanship is the right word, but also some aspect of, well, again, you know what you have in Jameis Winston, and we were talking about Teddy Bridgewater earlier. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater could have been the Saints' backup quarterback again this year, knowing that Brees is retiring. But those 5 games that he started last season for the Saints in Drew Brees' absence, that basically is what got him that rich contract with the Panthers to begin with, right? So I wonder if the Saints want to avoid having that happen again, and like at least having the chance for a QB1 and Jameis Winston next season, and not playing him as to suppress market value. Like, that might be some tinfoil hat wearing type stuff, but I wonder if that plays into it a little bit as well.
You know what? And we're not there at practice. Maybe Jameis Winston isn't impressing. But all I know is I'd rather my chance of Jameis Winston chucking it up to Michael Thomas than Taysom Hill.
Fair. That's totally fair because we've seen what Jameis Winston can do with elite wide receivers like Mike Evans and so on.
Yeah.
But as well too, don't forget, guys, if you're in an ESPN league and you have the chance to play Taysom Hill, you play him at tight end today. Okay, you play him at tight end. He has the dual eligibility for ESPN leagues, tight end and quarterback. And I mean, maybe you don't have him this week in particular, but I mean, like, no matter, even if you do have a very good tight end, maybe you consider flexing Taysom Hill if you have a Hayden Hurst or a TJ Hawkinson or anyone. I mean, even if you have Travis Kelce or Darren Waller, I would still consider playing Taysom Hill in the flex, if only because we know he's getting snaps at QB as well.
It is a giant unknown when it comes to fantasy football. Real life, it'll be fun to see this experiment. But
yes.
All right, let's get to some of the questions here, folks. You guys are bringing it already. Gary on YouTube. Good morning from Indiana, and thanks for the show, Gary from Indiana. Hello. Thanks for tuning in, man. I'm thinking of starting Lamar Jackson over Aaron Rodgers today, and maybe putting Calvin Ridley at flex over Nick Chubb. Thoughts?
I know where you're going on both
Gary?
of those, I think.
No. Gary, I like the creativity. I like the thoughts. Good to think, good to hash things out, good to brainstorm. Shut it down. No, we're not doing that where you're playing Aaron Rodgers. Think about it this way. To me, you have the Tennessee Titans. Have they been on a decline, a confusing decline? Yes. The defense as well. But that's the team that set the table, that set the film to tell you how to stop Lamar Jackson. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, has just been slinging it. You got Devontae Adams back. You have Alan Lazard, who should be returning. MVS, Aaron Jones. You're as healthy as you've been all year. I wouldn't do that. And the weather in Cleveland, again, for the third straight time. And I know it's against the Colts. That's good defense. It's inside, though, so weather won't be an issue either. And for the Nick Chubb question, it's in Cleveland. Not a lot of wind, but downpour. It's going to be wet. That's another heavy handoff day. I think you got to go with Rodgers and got to go with Chubb.
Yeah, for sure. I don't disagree with you, but just to play again devil's advocate when it comes to Lamar Jackson, like the Tennessee Titans beat them in the playoffs last year. It was great. I think everyone really enjoyed it. I think it was a stunning win for the Titans, and while their story ended in the AFC Championship game, like either way, like no doubt they have the formula, but at the same time, Lamar Jackson, from a fantasy perspective, had a monster game against the Titans, like in the playoffs, right? Like he had like something like almost 40 fantasy points against them. I mean, again, that means nothing when it comes to real life wins. They did not win the game. It means zero. It means zilch. I don't think they care. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. But for the purposes here, at least I don't think it's as cut and dry. I would still start Aaron Rodgers. Don't get me wrong, because I want to say outside of the one stinker he had against Tampa Bay, and everyone has a down week at some point during the year, he has been absolutely phenomenal. So I agree with you. For sure, start Aaron Rodgers. But it's just when it comes to Lamar Jackson, I mean, like I wish Gary was in a 2 QB league. Then you could start both these guys.
That'd be fun. Yeah. And yeah, like Aaron Rodgers, outside of that 5.8 against Tampa Bay, the guy's been just sensational. He's 7th ranked overall fantasy player. Overall. So I'm with you. There's always a chance that Lamar could pop, but this year we've just seen that
it's declined for sure. Yeah,
just pushed down. All right, let me see. Alex on YouTube, in full PPR, do I start Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, bad weather in Cleveland, Derek Carr, or Ryan Tannehill? So we got going forward, who would you stick with as a backup to Josh Allen, given his tough schedule for the rest of the season? So essentially, he wants to know today, do we start Cousins, Wentz, Carr, or Tannehill? I think with the matchup against Dallas, I'm going Kirk Cousins, man.
Isn't that crazy, though? Like, I feel like you might not feel so good about it. And again, Cousins, he played okay. I was going to say reasonably well, but okay on a Monday Night Football against the Bears. It was certainly held up by the defense. But yeah, I feel like whenever you play the Dallas Cowboys, and again, they've been better as of late in the last maybe like month or so, maybe 3 weeks. They've been better-ish. But yeah, I still feel like until they show they've made a huge leap from okay to good, then you probably have to start, because look at those other options. Wentz, bad weather in Cleveland. Yeah, he has been 2 games under, I think, 10 fantasy points.
Yep.
Derek Carr, up and down, certainly played very well against the Chiefs the last time they played. This is prime time, and Derek Carr has been pretty serviceable this season, I would say. But still a little bit of a down month for Derek Carr. And then same goes for Ryan Tannehill. He's been kind of bad, and now he's going up against the Ravens defense, right? So
yeah, you got to steer clear there.
It's tough, right? I feel like if I had to rank them, I'd probably go Cousins, Carr, Tannehill, Wentz. And Wentz only at last because of the weather.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And Wentz could run a bit, but he's been boy, he's been really bad. Like that confidence is shook. And then he said the rest of the season as a backup. You know what? If Wentz was more consistent, I think that's the obvious play. I'd say probably Derek Carr. Like just from what you said, Show, sort of like that. He's been relatively consistent, like that nice phrase, like the high floor, lower ceiling.
Right.
I think maybe Derek Carr would be my backup, but I would stay flexible with that.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm just looking up real quick what Tannehill's schedule is for the rest of the season here. So it looks like here after this week they're playing Cleveland, Jacksonville, Detroit. So I mean those are for a schedule going forward. I mean, again, Josh Allen has to be the guy you play week in and week out, and I think I understand the apprehension because you want to see more, like not more necessarily, you want to see more consistency perhaps from the Bills. But Josh Allen has been terrific all season. So I mean, even if Ryan Tannehill is your backup, you probably feel good about Josh Allen as your QB1 like until the season is over, pretty much.
Absolutely, I think he's until he gives you a reason consistently not to.
Right.
You got to go with Josh Allen. Right. All right, so that's Alex. We got that done. Another one here for my flex. Who do you like out of Will Fuller, A.J. Brown, Zeke? He says he doesn't trust him. And Damian Harris. I feel crazy thinking about not starting Zeke. Thanks for all your help. You're very welcome. Okay, let's see here. So Zeke, remember, Andy Dalton is back in. I'm feeling Zeke. I'm going to play him. I know it's bad. If you draft him that high, man, I want to play Zeke. The other one there, do we know the full health of Stephon Gilmore yet? He's
Not
questionable.
yet. I think we probably before the end of the show we will, but I don't think we
Okay.
do yet. Yeah.
So maybe we say, if Stephon Gilmore plays, I'd say maybe trend. You know what? Even with A.J. Brown against the Ravens, I'm going to go Fuller anyway. Give me Fuller. Give me Fuller. Give me
Yeah.
Zeke. That's where I'll go.
Yeah, that's tough, right? It's a tough one because AJ Brown going up against the Ravens, like you said, and Damian Harris. Like I do think he'll be good again this week because, like I said to you on the fantasy show earlier this morning, I do feel like that Sony Michel is just going to be the emergency back, and that it's
Right.
probably still going to be Damian Harris and Rex Burkhead running things because of how good. It's not like Damian Harris has been serviceable; he's been very good, right, for the Patriots. So I wonder if that continues. Especially against the Texans' bad rush defense. But at the same time, by the way, Texans worst in the NFL rush defense. Worst.
That's right.
Does not seem team worse than them. So I mean, certainly Damian Harris, you'll be okay starting him. But I know what you mean. If you drafted Zeke, I mean, one of the most common refrains in fantasy football is start your studs. And Zeke, I mean, he's injured. He's had ball security issues, but he still is a stud, right? I mean, you drafted him that highly because he's been terrific, and he is underperforming. No doubt, but at the same time, I feel like if I had to rank them again, I'd probably go Zeke, Fuller, Harris, Brown.
Yeah, that's where I go. And in that Tennessee game, I actually like Corey Davis over AJ Brown.
Right.
When it comes to getting secondary coverage, Corey Davis has been good lately. So let's go Koala Bear on YouTube. Tyler Boyd or Jonathan Taylor at the flex this week.
Taylor.
Gotta go Boyd, man. Gotta go Boyd. Jonathan Taylor loved him coming out of college. For whatever reason, the Colts are not liking what they see, and they're going Nyheim Hines for a high draft pick with Taylor. It's always a little dicey because Frank Reich has said he'll go with the hot hand, so there's always that bit of an iffy spot where Taylor could go off. I just think Tyler Boyd's been much more consistent, and the Bengals just throw the ball all the time.
Yeah, the Bengals throw the ball. I feel like Joe Burrow must have the most pass attempts in the NFL, probably. I mean, or close to it at the very
least. Like one or two all year.
Yeah, right. So if that's the case, I mean, look, I do think that T. Higgins has overtaken Tyler Boyd as the number one receiver in Cincinnati. Yeah. It's been nice to see the pairing of the two rookies, but at the same time, Tyler Boyd is still a pretty serviceable secondary option. I mean, he kind of is like especially with Joe Mixon out for the foreseeable future for the next 3 weeks. He's on IR now. Remember that, guys. I think that Tyler Boyd, he's like a kind of like the security blanket, even though Higgins is the number one guy. But yeah, I mean, either way, you got to go with Boyd over Taylor. He's like basically lost the starting job. I think basically to Nyheim Hines.
Well, and when you look still at the volume Boyd is getting, last week, 8 targets, week before 7, week before 13, 8, 6, 8, 13, 8, and 5. That's pretty consistent, right?
Yeah,
You're thinking he's going to be getting at least 8 tosses. How many of those he catches and how many go for touchdowns, who knows? But at least the volume's there.
Yeah.
All right. Freddie on Twitch. Do I start both Hunt and Chubb this week, or would you replace one of them with Giovanni Bernard since Mixon is out on PPR? Honestly, we saw it last week. Bad weather, where they're going to be running the ball heavy again. Chubb and Hunt as a 1-2 stack. I know that makes people nervous, myself included. Typically, you kind of bunch up on one team. But I think the upside, the production, what we see when both are in the lineup together is much greater than the possibility for Giovanni Bernard, who in other situations I do like and I think you should start. But in this case, I think you go with the Browns duo.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, last week they were, I think it was something like they both had 19 carries and over 100 yards on the ground. And of course, they got some work through the air as well. And if it's going to be a repeat or at least in the same boat as a bad weather day, I think, it's hard to go away from them, right? Look, PPR does make it seem that you can go to Gio Bernard, but I mean, like, Bernard is at best just going to be what Kareem Hunt is, right? So if that's the case, then you can probably, for a team that is basically almost like 100% getting its production on offense out of the rushing game, then I feel like you go Chubb and Hunt. But I mean, if you want Chubb and Bernard, I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world. But ultimately, I think it's a good situation to be in, right? I'll put it that way.
Well, and Philadelphia is ranked 26th versus the rush.
Yes,
so just keep that in mind as well. Flames is 0404 on YouTube. Adrian Peterson, Nyheim Hines, or Salvin Ahmed for running back. Ooh boy. I'm gonna say I like Hines. Again, if we're ranking them, I like Hines, Ahmed, and then Peterson. I do think that the Dolphins are gonna feed Ahmed, but I don't think you said if it was PPR or not.
No, he
I
didn't.
feel
No.
I feel maybe a little more comfortable with Ahmed if it's standard because he doesn't catch the ball necessarily. And Show, this is only his second full game in as a starter. You have Matt Breida back. We've seen guys pop before. Until we get maybe a bit more of a scope as to what he's done over a couple games,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I hesitate a little bit.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would probably still go with Ahmed, if only because like, only because he has been taking over that backfield, and Tua does require some help right now. Maybe he won't in the future. And when Myles Gaskin returns, then I'm staying
Right.
away completely. Right until Gaskin returns, though, I think I would feel comfortable starting Ahmed. But at the same time, Hines is a little more of a proven entity. So I probably would go Hines, Ahmed, than Peterson as well. But I mean, all things considered, if you're, I wonder who else he has at running back that he can start just one of these guys. And also, I would like to know if it's PPR as well. But if it's standard, then maybe Ahmed gets a little bit of a boost. But if it's PPR, then Hines, I think, becomes the clear number one choice.
Yeah, I'm with you. David on Facebook, Big Ben or Burrows at QB this week? I think you got to go with Big Ben. He has really ramped it up
It's
over
been
the
great.
last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
just a bit under 30 fantasy points each week. James Conner has been the one to fade on in Pittsburgh, really, at running back. But otherwise, Big Ben's distributing it. Johnson's eating, Claypool's eating, Juju's eating. Like everybody's there. So I think you go with while Burrows is going to give you the opportunity because of volume, the passing touchdowns haven't necessarily been as consistent as of late. So I think you go with Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I think so too. Burrow, I think, is it's not a, if you go either way, I think he'll probably
Yeah,
be okay this week. But yeah, the Jags have been just so bad. They've been bad,
yeah,
right? And I think when it comes to picking against the Jaguars, I think we said this earlier in the season. Like whenever you can pick against the Cowboys, the Jets, the Jaguars, you can probably add in a couple other teams in there as well. You do it from a survivor perspective, probably a betting perspective, and also from a fantasy football perspective as well. And I think that'll hold true again this week. Big Ben probably going to shred the Jags again. Maybe not for 30 points, but I mean, you're starting him. You're probably expecting at least 20, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure. And Pittsburgh is 10.5 point favorites as well in
Ooh.
Jacksonville.
Are you
So
going to take that? You can take that line, 10 and a
I,
half?
I'm going to take. I was just thinking about that. I'm going to take that. Like Jags are 1-8. They've mailed it in, right? They've had it. You're probably going to fire Marone at the end of the year. You're going to try. Like if it goes Jets and Jags in the draft, you're going to have Trevor Lawrence 1 and probably Justin Fields of the Buckeyes at number 2. And
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
you're going to have
Oof.
a new quarterback in Jacksonville. So they're in no hurry to really push that. Let's see. What do we got? Ryan on YouTube. Damian Harris, CEH, or Bellage? Well,
Hmm.
you know where I'm sleeping tonight, Show.
Yeah, I do.
Bellagio. I'm in there. I got my key. Okay. I think we got to go that because Damian Harris, like you said, Sony Michel could very well be the emergency one, but we're just so, I think, accustomed to the what if, the weirdness that can happen in New England. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, while Le'Veon Bell has taken away a bit of work, it just seems like the Chiefs aren't running as much anymore.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
it feels like for the Chiefs, uh, I don't know necessarily because of Le'Veon Bell or whatever the reason may be. The Chiefs essentially have the last couple of weeks they've played. They have thrown the ball 70% of the time, and then the last time 80% of the time. Like essentially, instead of giving the ball to either one of CEH or Bell, they've just given all those touches to Patrick Mahomes. And look, that's not when you have the best quarterback in the NFL. You do that, right? You do that, and you don't
Yeah.
think twice. You don't look back, and you feel very, very, very good about it. But yeah, at the same time, man, it's tough for CEH owners. Like I feel like this week he and Damian Harris are probably flex plays, RB3 plays. Kalen
That's
Ballage
fair.
is probably not that far ahead of them. Like it's probably like closer than you like to imagine. But yeah, I'd probably go Ballage, CEH, Harris in that order. But I mean, Damian Harris again. Don't forget Texans' worst rush defense in the NFL, and he has
That's
looked
it.
pretty great. He has been banged up, and like you said, Michelle is back. I feel like it'll be hard for Belichick and the rest of the team to go away from Harris based on how good he has been, right? Um,
Unless Cam Newton is the one taking those extra
Again,
carries.
and that's the thing too. Yeah, I did see a stat saying that the Texans are apparently one of the best in the NFL at defending opposing quarterbacks via the run. specifically via the run. So we'll see. Like, I wonder. I don't think that'll matter too much because they do a lot of different unique things with Cam, especially because he has that weird throwing motion now. So
Yeah.
which I still don't 100% understand what the deal is with that. But yeah, as for Ryan's question, I'll probably go Bellage, CEH Harris.
Well, look for Bellage too, getting away from the Jets, right? With
Mhm.
the Chargers, you have Justin Jackson on the IR. Austin Eckler's not back yet. Joshua Kelly's an afterthought.
Yeah.
Troy Pope clearly behind that. So when you look at what we're for Bellage in PPR specifically, 16.4 and 15.2 fantasy point
Yeah, it's been great.
production over the last couple of weeks, and the Jets are terrible.
And then they're playing the Jets. Yeah,
And
it's
they're
true.
playing the Jets.
The Jets may probably make the if it's a coin flip for you, the Jets should make that an easier decision.
Yeah, the Jets make that happen. Ali on YouTube,
Ooh,
John Smith, hello. John Smith or Austin Hooper. Now, the weather in Cleveland again. Terrible downpour, run first. Hooper, I would put, if the over-under was at 3 catches show, I'd probably put the under at 2. Look, I'd probably take the under.
Take the under, yeah.
So I'll say John Smith, while he certainly has not been the producer he has earlier in the year, he's at least getting you in that 9 to 10 fantasy point range. So I think you go Smith.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, right? Because it's either against the Ravens or against the Eagles in bad weather. I guess the Ravens have been a little more vulnerable as of late, if only because they've been dealing with injuries. Guys have been in and out of the lineup on defense. It's just Tannehill has not. I mean, he's not eclipsed 200 yards or he a couple times this season. So I wonder if that's going to be the case against a tough Ravens defense. Like it's just a run fest. I wonder for both teams basically. Both of these teams, the Titans and the Ravens, run the ball more than your average team at the very least, right?
It could be.
That's the only thing. But I agree with you. I mean, like between these two, again, low volume of passes and catches. Probably for both Jonnu Smith and Austin Hooper, but the weather probably makes me give an edge to Jonnu Smith over Hooper just today.
You can get us on Twitter at AndyMC81 at SNSLE. This is Fantasy Football Live, and you're watching on Sportsnet YouTube or Facebook Live or on Twitch. You can get your comments in below. Jay Pazzi on YouTube. Flex, Tyler Boyd, or Deontay Johnson, half PPR. I'm digging Deontay Johnson here, man. In that matchup with the Jags, Johnson looks to be the first look for Big Ben. And Boyd is the second look for Joe Burrow. So I'll take the number 1 look.
Yeah, I agree. In a very good matchup, a plus matchup for Deontay Johnson. I mean, Deontay has clearly become the number 1 wide receiver. I mean, he's clearly still has a very good rapport with Juju Smith-Schuster and Chase Claypool. Like, no doubt. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. Even Eric Ebron to a lesser extent. Like that, all the connections are there for all of them. But Deontay Johnson gets the ball more than anybody else. I feel like he gets the ball thrown at him like 10 plus times a game, and in a half PPR league, man, you're laughing. I feel like
you're having a good time there for sure. And on DraftKings as well, depending on the salary value too, you get Deontay because it kind of splits. Like you're not going to be overpaying for one. Like let's say a Tyreek Hill who's super expensive compared to the other options.
For Deontay.
$5,900, like $5,900. You're less than $6,000 on DraftKings for Deontay Johnson. With that, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Patrick on Facebook, Chark, Amari, Justin Jefferson, and Duke. 1 wide receiver, 1 flex, half PPR. I'm going to cut Duke out right away here, Show, because even though he's got the volume, last week, bad weather, run game, he couldn't do anything. Like Duke Johnson cannot run in between the tackles. He is a catch. He's a third down back who's being used as a starting running back because of injury. Can't run. If he runs in between the tackles, he's getting 2.9 yards to carry. That's what.
But if this is a half PPR league, does that change it for you, knowing that Deshaun is going to probably check it down a lot?
It's at home. Like I would still, out of those options, I would still rather Amari Cooper with Andy Dalton back, based on if we're gonna like the value of all the Dallas weapons are certainly down. Amari has been the one that has at least kept the volume. So I'll say Amari, and with DJ Chark, I'm not trusting Luton. So I'll say Jefferson and Cooper would be my pick.
Yeah, I feel like Justin Jefferson is like the easy choice for your wide receiver spot, for example, right? Because they're playing the Cowboys. It's a great matchup for him. He has been terrific. I feel like, he's probably been the best wide receiver rookie this season. I would imagine. T. Higgins has been good, and CeeDee Lamb has been good too. I mean, it's not really his fault that he's been unproductive because of the injuries and so on to quarterbacks and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson is so good to watch, and then he just had a big coming out party. I feel like on Monday night. So yeah, I would go JJ for sure. I'd be. I'm thinking about Duke, but I think you're right. With Dalton back, if Dalton wasn't back, I'd probably lean Duke Johnson. But now that Dalton is back, I mean, he's going to get the ball to his best playmaker, who is Amari Cooper, and you can go that way and probably feel okay. I mean, the Vikings are a good defense, but they're not like a great defense.
Well, like at least you have a functional veteran quarterback.
Yeah.
At Andy Dalton. You don't have DiNucci. Okay.
Hey, Garrett Gilbert was okay. He was okay.
Gilbert was actually a nice surprise against the Steelers.
Yeah.
But Andy Dalton at least has done it, right? You feel a little bit more safe with Andy Dalton. And
yeah, you know what you got in Andy Dalton.
Right. And when you look at Jefferson, so you can actually, play them head to head. Like for Jefferson versus Dallas has allowed the second most fantasy points to wide receivers.
Yep.
So I think that's the play there.
Also,
okay.
I'm firing up the Vikings DST, so I'm hoping Amari Cooper doesn't have too good a game, but it's still a good play.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And they have some more offensive line trouble in Dallas as well. Let's see. Brenton on Facebook. Is Sony Michel startable this week?
Don't do it, man.
PPR? No.
Don't get on that roller coaster, please.
Don't do it, Brenton. Don't do it. I know it's tempting, but Joe, I'm with you. Like I could just totally see Sony Michel being in there getting like one carry.
Yeah. Like he goes in, Damian Harris gets the wind knocked out of him. Sony Michel goes in, you think to yourself, "Oh man, it's happening. Here comes the Sony PlayStation, right?" But no. Damian Harris probably still going to be the guy. Actually, I have a prop bet in on Rex Burkhead today. So we'll see if that pays out. But I think I just don't think you want to really like set yourself up for the pain and anxiety that comes with rooting for any specific Patriots running back out of like a group of 4 guys, basically.
No, for Ravens and Patriots running backs, we want no part. We don't want any part of that. Let's go to Twitter. And again, you can send your tweets to us and follow us at AndyMC81 at SNSLE. We have from at Huntley Doherty says, looking for some last minute advice, need to play 2, Ridley, Zeke, or Deontay. I'd say in this case with Ridley healthy, I think did he say PPR? He did not.
Is it on Twitter?
It's on Twitter, yeah. Right. He tagged you too. I'll say Ridley and Deontay with Ridley healthy. It didn't say PPR or not.
Okay.
If we're assuming PPR, like we just talked about, I like Zeke, but I think in this case I'll go Ridley.
So just remind me again, Andy. It was Zeke, Ridley, and Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, and you have to pick 2.
Pick 2 of them. Okay, yeah. I'd probably. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right, to bench Zeke. Like it makes you feel crazy, like someone was saying, right? Because Zeke is so good, and you know what he is when he's healthy. But I don't think he is healthy, right? He has that hamstring injury. I mean, if you have no better options, like I think we answered someone earlier and said Zeke, and that situation, I would say Zeke. But this guy has Calvin Ridley, who's coming back. They're playing the Saints. They're probably going to throw the ball a lot. Saints are in the middle of the pack against wide receivers. And then Deontay Johnson, who we both really like, against a really bad Jacksonville defense. Like that makes it a little tougher. Like if he went Deontay Zeke, I wouldn't blame him. But I mean, at the same time, Ridley has shown to be very, very good when he's healthy.
Absolutely. I didn't know it was this close. Apparently, Ian Rappaport saying Gardner Minshew listed as questionable, not expected to play. I didn't even know he was in the conversation.
Yeah, I thought he was out for a couple more weeks.
Yeah. So apparently that is confirmed that he's out, which is good. Now I'm looking at the DraftKings salary here, Show. Calvin Ridley, $7,000. So in your season-long league, we're going Ridley and Deontay.
Right.
If for DraftKings, if you're looking for a bit of a savings, like I don't feel you're getting the $5,900 for Deontay that much of a boost on Ridley at $7,000. Like if it's DraftKings, I think I would go with Deontay Johnson for the price difference
over Ridley.
Over Ridley, because Ridley's $7,000, Deontay's $5,900.
I agree. Yeah, against the Jacksonville defense, like we just said, are just so bad. I mean, how could you not, right?
Yeah, if I'm getting that much of a discount, right? Let's see here. So we did Brenton Ellis on YouTube. Chris Godwin or Michael Thomas? Well, if Taysom Hill wasn't in the lineup, and we cannot predict the thief of fantasy football joy, Taysom Hill. I can't trust it, Joe. Is he even going to make the whole game? Is this trickery? Is this gamesmanship. I don't know. I got to go with Chris Godwin. I think if you set Godwin your expectations as a lower WR2 or high WR3, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Just because how much Brady throws it.
Yeah, no, I agreed, and I think too the danger with Godwin, and it's not really his fault. It's just I wonder who Jalen Ramsey is going to follow around. Like, is Jalen Ramsey going to follow around one guy? I have no idea. I expect him to follow around the bigger guy in Mike Evans, because Mike Evans is Brady's. I think he's Brady's favorite target in the red zone. Like, whenever they're inside the 20-yard line, I feel like Mike Evans is the first and sometimes only look for Brady. I mean, he's a tall guy, he's athletic, he's, whatever. It's all good for Mike Evans in the red zone. But if that's the case, then if Ramsey's following him around, that is, then you really like your chances for Chris Godwin.
Mm-hmm.
But the Rams defense has been pretty stingy. I got to say, like, they've been very good as of late. And again, this being the Monday nighter, I mean, maybe you want to let your matchup come down to the last, likely your last player available of the week. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Mike Thomas coming off of the injury a couple weeks ago, he's been not that productive, even with Drew Brees, and now Taysom Hill is in there. It's funny because if Jameis Winston was in there, I'd probably say, yeah, fire up Mike Thomas, because they're probably going to throw the ball at him like 20 times. But yeah, with Taysom Hill, you don't know, because, I mean, look, if you're in a Kamara owner too, you probably are a little wary, because, I mean, Taysom Hill could, in theory, steal a couple. Like, if they're on the goal line, Taysom Hill is going to be trying to run that in, right? So, also, Did you know that Taysom Hill is 30 years old? I didn't know that.
Sean Payne, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Okay, like, come on. The guy's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Okay, I think we're going to see that very soon. Gimmick guy. He loves them. Wants to see. Hey, his job. He's got a Super Bowl.
It's like when Nick Nurse was like just so enamored with Pat McCall, like just like inexplicably, like, why are you playing Pat McCall all the time, Nick Nurse? It's like the same with Taysom Hill.
I know. And you know what? Hey, this breaking show 3 minutes ago from Ian Rappaport,
right.
Despite being activated yesterday, Patriots running back Sony Michel will not play today.
Ooh.
Sony Michel not active.
There you go.
Damian Harris remains RB1. So for you guys watching, and I forget the previous questions, but Damian Harris, we can bump that stock up a bit.
Okay, real quick. Look, I'm just going to go through it real quick. Ryan said Harris, CEH, or Bellage. Does that change that for you?
I'd still go Bellage, but I would jump Harris over CEH.
I don't think anyone. Oh, here we go. And Alex asked, who do you for flex? Fuller, AJ Brown, Zeke, or Harris? I might take Harris in that situation, honestly.
Yeah, I might go Harris. There. That's why you listen to the show and watch the show, folks, right? Breaking news.
Yeah,
Sony Michel not active. Let me see. Panthers will have quarterback Teddy Bridgewater active today. Mm-hmm. All three quarterbacks are active for the Panthers. So that means
who's the third quarterback?
Yeah, it's Will Grier.
Okay, right.
So you got Teddy Bridgewater, PJ Walker, who's next in line, and it's worth noting that the Panthers' new head coach, Matt Rule, was PJ Walker's college coach at Temple.
Ooh, okay, all right.
And with him coming in, so he knows how to use them. So this is a case where all three active. That's a situation you're going to want to track real close, because it could come down to warm-up, right?
Yeah.
As well, if all three are active, somebody gets popped in, and the other quarterbacks haven't had any real practice with the starters. It's been mostly Teddy Bridgewater still all week with that knee, so that is dicey.
When you saw the Michelle news, did you see if Stephon Gilmore was active?
Ooh, good question.
Because we were wondering about that. I hadn't seen, mainly because I'm looking at two different screens here. But yeah, he is. Michelle,
Bryant, Taylor, Butler, Hoyer, Ford inactive for the Patriots. I don't know if that's the full list, but that's what the Patriots released there. So
then I think that means Gilmore is active. Then I would imagine
that'll be Gilmore's active.
Patriots usually like by now you would know. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm liking Brandon Cooks.
Sure.
Guy. Yeah. I got him on one of my sleeper picks on my Saturday Sportsnet.ca article, so you can check that out there. Let's see. So what else do we got? Tom Stewart on YouTube. Cook, Higgins, or Michael Thomas? I'm going to assume that is Cooks.
Yeah, not Dalvin Cook, because you're starting him.
Yeah, it's Dalvin Cook. There we go. And he goes, standard, baby. All right. So assuming that's Brandon Cooks. Michael Thomas, I'm counting out because of the pace of the conversation. I think you go Higgins, number one there as the top target. Cooks would be number two for me.
Brandon Cooks, yeah, I think, yeah, even with this Gilmore stuff we're talking about, I'd probably go T. Higgins as well. It's just like we said before, Joe Burrow throws the ball a million times, and he's probably like you were saying. I think he's either one or number two in pass attempts, and they're playing Washington, and
Yep.
Washington is not that great against the pass, right? We saw it last week with the Lions in Washington, and you'll probably see it again this week with the Bengals. And the Bengals are like they're not a great football team, agreed, but at the same time they have some really good weapons on offense, and T. Higgins is one of those guys.
They can light it up in a track meet and go back and forth.
Yeah, for sure.
Washington's front four gets some push. Not the amount of sacks I necessarily thought, but they can pressure the quarterback.
But
So
they've like kind of fallen off as of late.
they
Like in
have.
the last month or so, like they Chase Young and everyone, they kind of just it's kind of been a downward trend. Let's say.
Yeah, it really has. Okay, Reagan on Facebook. Ahmed or CEH? I think we go with Salvin Ahmed there over CEH.
Yeah.
I think I would. Yeah, because Breida being back doesn't scare me at all, and they seem to be liking him, and so we'll see how the workload looks, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was something like Ahmed got like 84% of the snaps or something like that, which is, and again, Breida was back last week, but I think just like Le'Veon Bell's presence has hurt CEH as we expected, but not only that, he has just like we said before, seeded carries to not Patrick Mahomes carries, but Patrick Mahomes throws, right? And so if
Yep.
that's the case, then I mean maybe some of those throws do go to CEH. He's a very good receiving back, no doubt. But it's just I feel like on like when Myles Gaskin's come back, you ask this question again. Well, I'll probably say CEH, but until then, I'll say Ahmed.
How about this? Just a quick note from Tom Pelissero on NFL
Sure.
Network. He
Okay.
reports Cowboys quarterback Andy Dalton still can't really taste or smell,
What?
but he had a pretty good week of practice and is ready to go from having COVID.
I didn't know that. Frankly, I didn't know that was a side effect that you can't taste.
No, can't taste or smell.
My goodness.
Wow. So he got like almost decapitated with that concussion.
Yeah, he was a brutal hit.
Then got COVID. Like that's a rough go.
That's pretty rough. Yeah. I mean, look, we've seen other guys come back from COVID, but I mean, if he is still suffering ill effects, I mean, I just think it does at the very least beg the question: will he be suffering any other side effects which would affect his play on the field? Right.
Right. And apparently he's practiced well this week and he's gotten all the starter reps.
Yeah, well,
So
that's good. That's good at least.
let's see. 1 minute ago, Ian Rappaport. We're keeping you up to date, folks. The Panthers made a change. Instead of keeping Teddy Bridgewater as active and emergency quarterback, they have now made him inactive.
Wow. Okay.
PJ Walker. XFL.
Do we know it's PJ Walker? Have they said it's PJ Walker now?
Ian Rappaport says so. PJ Walker starts. Wow. Yes.
Wild.
Go Houston Roughnecks. Who's with me? Let's go.
Oh man, that's
XFL
crazy.
Leader in passing yards and passing touchdowns. But what gives me confidence, Joe, because that really means nothing. But what gives me confidence again, Matt Rule was his college quarterback at Temple. He knows his strengths and weaknesses. He knows how to use them. PJ Walker, we see he's got an arm, shorter guy, but's got an arm and can scramble. You know what? I'm getting PJ Walker in a DraftKings lineup. I'm putting him in.
Part of me does wonder, Andy, if perhaps what this does for the stock of DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel, based on how we've seen them be used. I wonder if for this one game, if the script is flipped and DJ Moore is a little more valuable than I mean, DJ Moore was good last week, but
Ooh.
I wonder with Walker in if the script gets flipped and Moore is the number one guy again because because Teddy Bridgewater just doesn't throw the ball deep, right? And I wonder if someone like PJ Walker will be willing to take a little more deep shots. I wonder.
Now that's interesting. Also, I had PJ Walker in my waiver wire pickups article Tuesday as speculative to wait and see.
Yeah, sure.
Joe, he's available in 99% of Yahoo and ESPN leagues. So if you're in quarterback trouble, PJ Walker right now.
Yeah, if you were going to start Andy Dalton, for example, maybe you go start Walker instead.
I think I'd go PJ.
Yeah.
How great! What a world.
Or if you were going to start Alex Smith, perhaps maybe you start or Phillip Rivers or something. Yeah, maybe you take the chance and you start. If you're in a bind because Josh Allen is on his bye or whatever, maybe you take the chance with Walker. I wouldn't entirely hate that.
Okay, fantasy points over under 20 fantasy points for PJ Walker today. I'm taking over, Show.
Ooh, you're taking the over, eh? Oh, I'm gonna take the slightest under, but I think it's gonna be close.
All day, PJ. Let's go. All right, XFL power. That's amazing.
You were never this fired up about Jake Luton, and his one good start.
I've been Luton free. That's it. That's out of my diet. No Luton. gosh. Yeah, that's there you go. We'll keep you up to date as things continue to break minute by minute here. So we're with you for another 16 minutes. Where are we here? Ariel on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Ben or Brady? We like Tommy Terrific. The
Yes.
Rams defense, like you mentioned before, show really good. Ben Roethlisberger with how he's been slinging it against the Jaguars. That's a no-brainer to me. I'm going with Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I think based on at least the last couple of matchups, you have to go Big Ben. He has been just so phenomenal, and the Jags are awful, whereas the Rams are, I mean, good to pretty good, right? And I mean, will Brady could Brady have success? Absolutely.
Right.
Will Big Ben have success? Chances are pretty high.
Yeah, will Big Ben? Yes, he will.
Yes.
He really should and will. Make sure there's no other news there. Okay, just scrolling, making sure we're not missing anything here.
Sure, yeah.
Gary Silkwood asks.
Yeah, this is Gary. This is the one we were asking about Lamar Jackson over Rodgers. He was just replying, I think, here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
from earlier.
Aaron Jones at running back. I try to avoid putting too many guys against the same risky D matchup. I like that strategy, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was thinking Jackson over Rodgers. You convinced me on Chubb. There you go, Gary.
There you go.
Justin on YouTube. Hearing that Kerryon Johnson is going to split carries with AP, I'm struggling at RB. So do I start Johnson or Jamal Williams? So here's the Detroit situation is we don't like it. We don't like how Matt Patricia uses running backs. Here's what I'm feeling. And I have no proof of this. Okay. I looked at it before. Well, once DeAndre Swift was ruled out and people talking AP and Kerryon, I was like, who's the third running back? Who's the third? Who's going to bow Scarborough our Sunday? Jonathan Williams is that guy. Now, right. I have no proof. I have no intel to say that Jonathan Williams, but I got a feeling in my gut that Jonathan Williams is going to vulture something today. It seems like it's going to be a split. Jamal Williams with Aaron Jones in there. And all the weapons, like I just feel like if a key piece was out for Green Bay, I might go Williams. But there's just so many mouths to feed. Like, how much can we really expect out of him, right?
So, but and I agree. Neither of these are good choices. I'm sorry, Justin. No. But if you had to pick one, I probably would pick. I'd probably pick Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah,
probably. But I mean, because you're right, Jamal Williams has been good, but now that Devontae Adams is back. Now that Alan Lazard is back, I wonder if it's just going to be less of a show for Jamal Williams, right?
Funyon Tunyon, he's still there, you know. Oh yeah, Jonathan Williams, that's the guy, folks. I'm telling you, I got nothing to prove it.
Former Buffalo Bill.
I'm going to put him. You know what? I'm going to do one DraftKings lineup. I'm going to have PJ Walker and Jonathan Williams.
How many DraftKings lineups are you? 15?
I play some of the free ones too. I play some of the ones. I don't break the bank, but you can do that. Let's see here. Alex on YouTube. PPR pick 3: Michael Thomas, AJ Brown, Deontay Johnson, or James Conner. Give me AJ Brown, Deontay Johnson, and the third one. Boy, James Conner really hasn't done anything the last few weeks. But do I trust it over Michael Thomas with the unknown of Taysom Hill? I think versus Jacksonville, I'm going to chance it with Conner and double dip on the Steelers.
You know, I'll go against you here, and I'll say Brown, Deontay, and Michael Thomas. I'll leave Conner on the bench only because of his past couple of weeks. If he again, you know me, I'm conservative. I like to. He has to see it for me, and this is like a pretty make or break week. And again, I know because on the flip side, is Michael Thomas necessarily going to be a huge factor? Who knows? It's a mystery with Taysom Hill, but I feel like because what we have already seen with James Conner over the past couple of weeks, and Big Ben slinging it pretty well. I mean, for sure you got to go Deontay and AJ Brown, and AJ Brown has a tough matchup against the Ravens, and they're terrific corners. But I mean, still, it's tough to go with James Conner based on what you've seen from him.
It really is. It really is. Trent on Facebook. Morning, guys. Morning, Trent. Half PPR. Need 2. Gio Bernard, Duke Johnson, T. Higgins. Thanks. I'm going Gio and Higgins. Straight up.
Half PPR, yeah. I'm going Gio. Yeah, double dipping on the Bengals, eh?
I know.
Oh, man, that's tough. You know what? I'm going to say Duke and T. Higgins, if only because the Patriots, if the Texans are dead last in rush defense, the Patriots are, I think, second last. So two of the worst rushing defenses. And again, I know what you mean. Like Duke Johnson cannot run between the tackles. Not a big guy for that. But because it's half PPR, I'd be willing to go with Duke. I mean, look, if you end up going with Geo Trent, it's not a bad play either because Geo is also going to get a lot of catches as well. And again, I apologize that who we counseled on Geo last week because of the Steelers defense just shutting everything down for the Bengals. But that will not be the case for Washington this week for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think you'll feel okay going with basically any Bengal like the name Burrow, Higgins, Bernard, maybe even Boyd.
Yeah, and we cautioned last week too. The Steelers defense really good, and I would much rather always take a risk on a guy who's starting than over a backup, which were some of the options. Like
Sure,
I'd at least take the chance with a guy who's I know is going to get the football,
right?
Than a guy who I might get the football.
That's fair, yeah, and that's totally fair. I think that's fair, and which is why I don't mind going with Duke here because we know there's no real other competition, right? Yeah, exactly. But
that's it.
But yeah, from a half PPR perspective, they're pretty similar for me. I'll say Geo and Duke.
That's fair. They're similar guys. Scott on Facebook. Good morning, Scott. Would you go Bellage or Davis half PPR? I got to go
Davis, I guess, or Corey Davis. Mike Davis or Corey Davis? Because he says Bellage, I'm guessing he means Mike Davis, like a running back question.
Yeah, let's assume it's Mike Davis. Despite getting the start with the injured Christian McCaffrey, he's gotten under 10 fantasy points for 3 weeks in a row. Mike Davis. I can't trust him. I think Kalen Bellage, you got double weeks, 15 plus fantasy points, 16 plus fantasy points, revenge game. He's going to be the lead back at home. I think you go with Bellage.
Yeah, he's been let out of the Adam Gase prison with the Chargers. It's interesting, right? Because now that Walker is the quarterback for the Carolina, I do kind of wonder. Andy, if they might run the ball a little more, or be a little more creative with how they deploy their running backs. And now, again, that's another unknown, similar to the Taysom Hill thing. So I guess in that case, you feel a little more comfortable going with the known quantity in Kalen Bellage.
Right, and that's the question, especially with Carolina, where Teddy Bridgewater was practicing in some capacity all week.
Yeah.
So it's not like you knew he was out and the backup had the full week to get repped up with the ones. Right. So that's the other thing we got to keep in mind when it comes to PJ Walker. Okay, we got Fabian on YouTube, Jacoby Myers or Hollywood Brown. Jacoby Myers all day.
He's been terrific. My goodness. Like, I think, look, it's just, even if you are not sure what Jacoby Myers is or can be, at the very least, he clearly has some kind of rapport with Cam Newton.
Yep.
Apparently, when Cam was, I don't know if it was when Cam was in college or when he had just first started the NFL, but he used to run like a passing camp. And Jacoby Myers, who was a high school quarterback, attended that camp. So I think that's where the beginning of their chemistry was, which is kind of funny. So they've known each other for quite some time. And Jacoby Myers, I mean, he's flashed pretty recently over the last 3 weeks or so. He's like something like third or fourth in the NFL in targets over the past 3 weeks, which is wild. And then you got the Houston Texans, who are, I've said all show that they are last in the NFL in rush defense. They're 22nd in pass defense. They're a bad defense all around. So that could be good for him.
You got J.J. Watt, and that's about it. Merciless a little bit.
Yeah, that's it.
And you compare that to Marquise Brown. Folks, that's why you can't get hung up just on name value. Hollywood Brown. Hey, listen. I'm looking. October 18, 9.7 fantasy points. Then the bye, 7.3, 6.8, 3.4. Bad weather in New England, granted. But less than 10 fantasy points for over a month? No. I can't trust that.
Yeah, not good. They just don't throw the ball enough. They just do not throw the ball enough. Whereas, I mean, the Patriots are like kind of getting there. But if there's one guy they throw the ball to, it is Jacoby Myers. Like nobody else can you trust in the passing offense.
No, I would take Willie Snead. Willie Snead the fourth is getting more fantasy action than Marquise Brown. How about that? I would take Willie Snead over Marquise Brown right now. But really, don't play any of them. Dauntless on YouTube. Half PPR pick 2. Justin Jefferson, Michael Thomas, AB, Amari Cooper, or Jacoby. I will take me some Justin Jefferson. Ooh, do I like Amari Cooper for a quarterback who can't smell or taste?
I don't know.
You know what? He's not eating the football. I'll say Amari Cooper and Justin Jefferson.
I am, and maybe this is approaching Homer territory. I'm going to say Justin Jefferson and Jacoby Myers as
I
well.
don't
Like
hate that.
honestly, I was really close to playing Jacoby Myers over Tyler Lockett this week, and I only put Lockett in at the last second because, of course, the Seahawks and Cards played on Thursday night. I only put Lockett in at the last second because I saw he was active and he had that knee sprain. He came through. So hey, if you're out there and you played Carlos Hyde or
Yeah,
you played Tyler Lockett or something like that, you're feeling pretty good. But at the same time, I mean, Jacoby Myers, I think is the real deal, right? And I think he's going
I
to be
think
here to
so.
stay. And like I said before, we were talking about Fabian's question. I mean, he has a real rapport with Cam Newton, and I think like I would take him over the unknown of Michael Thomas, the kind of still relative unknown of AB. Amari Cooper for sure is the next guy I would take, but just I mean against the Vikings defense versus the Houston defense, the Texans defense is much worse.
Yeah, I'm seeing too, like that decision on Teddy Bridgewater. Just some clips on Twitter from NFL Network.
Right.
Teddy Bridgewater was taking warmups. Like they intended him to play like up until within the hour,
That's crazy.
which is that close. So that's nuts. Okay, Zach on YouTube, need to play too. Ridley, more AJ Brown PPR. Ridley for sure. DJ Moore with PJ Walker. I liked what we talked about. Like we could see that potential deep ball could go to DJ Moore.
Sure.
AJ Brown against the Ravens. You know what? I think we're Ridley for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling PJ Walker, baby. Let's go with Moore. Come on. Let's go.
I'll put it this way: I have PJ Moore or DJ Moore, PJ Moore. I have Moore in my season-long league, and I need a good game from Moore, like he had last week, in order to secure a playoff spot. And I'm after what we saw from Moore last week, after we saw them trying to get the ball to him more in space, and now Walker, their best playmaker, now that Christian McCaffrey is out, their best playmaker on offense is DJ Moore. You got to think that in a pinch, for a backup quarterback, the play has to be get the ball to your best player. And that's DJ Moore, right? And again, if you want to go, Zach, with A.J. Brown, I feel you. That's totally cool. I think he'll probably have a decent game as well. But I feel like DJ Moore might be just maybe if only for this week at least until Bridgewater comes back and takes the value of DJ Moore again, he might be the better play.
You might be. I can't wait to see that game with PJ. What a guy. That's awesome. Let's get to some best bets and prop plays.
Let's do it.
Here's the Browns and Eagles game in Cleveland. We talked about the bad weather. Here's the temperature. 38 degrees Fahrenheit, which is almost freezing.
Okay.
Wind isn't too bad, but 100% chance of rain, wet, cold. The last two games in Cleveland that have been very similar, the Browns have totaled 16 points. Opponents have totaled 23 points. So the total from two games is under the over-under set at 45.5. I'm going to slam the under on that one.
Yeah, I think I was texting with you that during both of those games, and I'm glad I took the under in both those games. I might do it a third time today for sure. I think the last I checked, unless this has changed, I haven't refreshed this page here that I got on my computer, but it's the over under is 47, which is even better, right? If you're taking the under. Right?
Now this on ESPN, I refreshed it and it dropped to 45.5. So maybe it depends on the service.
Sure. Okay.
But check it. Either way, I think you're good at taking the under.
I'm gonna refresh it as well. Yeah. Still. Yeah. Okay. So it depends on where you're placing your bet, but take the under. For lines, I really like. I like Cincinnati plus 1.5 against Washington. I think they have a chance to win outright, so it'd probably by more than 1.5. So if I'm being honest, so I like Cincinnati plus 1.5. You already mentioned Pittsburgh minus 10.5 against Jacksonville. I like that one as well. Philly plus 2.5 against Cleveland. I think this will be close. Like I think they'll cover but not win. Like I think Cleveland will win, but I mean plus 2.5 is a nice enough like gap. I think, especially considering the weather. So I'll take plus 2.5. I don't know why, considering they lost last week, and again, there was a monsoon in New England versus Baltimore, but Tennessee plus 6 versus Baltimore. I mean, that's
where I was going.
Considering like we spent so much time talking about how Tennessee has figured out Lamar Jackson and all that stuff. Like apart from the fantasy implications of Lamar Jackson, I still think he'll have a good day fantasy wise. Just win loss. I mean, Tennessee plus 6. I think it's decent value.
I might take Tennessee to win outright. I will definitely take them to cover that 6.
Yeah. Plus 6, that's not bad. I mean, even if they lose, but it's a close one, and you're still probably feeling pretty good about that. And then the other two I got written down here: Miami -4 versus Denver. Drew Lock is banged up. Miami's really good on defense. It'll probably be a low-scoring game for Miami Denver as well, but I like -4 for Miami. And this is a closer one. This is why the spread's so close. But Green Bay plus 1.5 versus the Colts. And the Packers are just so good, and I mean the Colts just eked one out against the Titans last week, and It's
Colts
it's
are
just
favored?
it's crazy, right? So I feel like maybe that's changed. I wrote these down when right
No,
before we started the show.
I'm
So
looking
maybe
at 1.5.
1.5. Yeah. So if that's the
Pretty
case,
cool.
I like Green Bay at plus 1.5.
Wow, absolutely. I don't understand that. It's in Let's Packers. Go, put your money, throw it.
Everybody from
Throw
the
it
Packers.
into your
And then
computer.
we didn't do any Survivor stuff. I mean, if this is the week you've been saving, if you didn't use the Steelers against the Cowboys a couple weeks ago, this is the week to use the Steelers.
This is the
Okay,
week.
so
Yeah.
use the Steelers against the Jags. If you've already used the Steelers, the Vikings against the Cowboys are a little dicier, but I mean they're still not a bad play. The Chargers against the Jets, also a good one as well.
Yeah, I think the Chargers for sure. Those are probably the safest ones. Let's see. Nobody else super jumps out to me. If it was Drew Brees, I'd say Saints over Falcons, but I'm not touching that thing.
That's the thing. If I would stay away from the Saints Falcons game because of no Breeze. 8 fractured ribs. Oof.
How
Jeez.
that? And he went back into the game and a collapsed lung.
Yeah, that's brutal. He's going to be out for maybe the rest of the season. I mean, we don't know. We'll see.
This could be it. He could be retired.
I got a couple of prop bets if we got time for that.
Sure, let's roll through quick. Yeah,
all right, let's roll through them. Rex Burkhead anytime TD. It's a plus bet too. I think it's plus 118. Having trouble reading my own writing, but Rex Burkhead anytime touchdown. That's through the air or on the ground, and no Sonny Michel. I feel like helps that out a little bit. I like the Chargers plus 120. The Chargers to score in every quarter against the Jets, even if it's just a field goal. I like the Chargers to score in every quarter.
Take that.
Yeah, plus 120. And I'll roll through these last ones really quickly. J.D. Mckissick over 4.5 catches, that's minus 160, and over 37.5 receiving yards, minus 112. Yeah, I like that one. He's been great through the air. Kareem Hunt over 57.5 rush yards. That's minus 115. I mean, it's still favored, but still minus 57.5. I mean, he's been great so far. And I know you don't care for this one, but I'm gonna stick with it. Lamar Jackson over 218.5 passing yards.
Yeah,
the Titans, the Titans have the 24th worst pass defense in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think the Ravens necessarily will win or cover, but 218, even if it's garbage, I can see. Yeah, I can see him doing that. Yeah, I would take that one.
Even in the monsoon last week, he threw for over almost 250 yards. So I mean, there you go.
And that's good. McKissick and Gibson must starts for Washington. Terry McLaurin, Can we get the man a quarterback? Terry McLaurin, the guy be the best. The guy be the best receiver in the NFL. Show. Look,
he's so good. He's so good.
Incredible. But J.D. McKissick, stud. He's still available in 29% of in ESPN leagues, folks. If you need a flex in PPR,
yeah,
go get yourself some J.D. McKissick. All right, dude, do it. Enjoy the games today.
Thank you very much. Good luck to the Browns in another what will I'm sure be a low-scoring game. Andy.
Absolutely. Good luck to the Patriots. Also, thank you to all of you for writing in. If we didn't get to your question, you can hit us up on Twitter. We'll try to get to it there before kickoff at AndyMC81 at SNS Ali. For producer Drew, for show, I'm Andy. You've been watching Fantasy Football Live on Sportsnet.